Thank you. Senator Braun.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No doubt about it, coming from the world of running a business just 4 years ago, childcare is something that I think employers definitely are trying to find what the right solution is. I remember in my hometown of Jasper, Indiana, one of the leading companies that started right there actually did that years ago, and then I think found that it was too complicated and then let the rest of the providers there locally take it over, which would have been, even to this date, less of an issue than what I think it is nationally. But that would be our good fortune, where many would not share that. And of course, from that variety of faith-based, local entrepreneurs doing it, I guess the one thing that gives me pause is that we're talking about an amount of money that if it were in the original construction of Build Back Better would have been half of what we spent back in 08 and 09, roughly, through TARP. And the idea that we want to commandeer something else again at the federal level. And I know from the little over 3 years I've been here, the natural default is when you've got issues that are of concern, parents, employers, just taking care of our kids in general, this is a place that people look to. I found that it generally ends up creating a lot of investment that sometimes does not hit the mark. And I think what I'm interested in from among the panelists, and got maybe a little less than a minute each, is do we need more federal government in it, or should we be looking to employers and states that almost categorically seem to get things done more effectively and affordably? So give me your general comments on that, and we'll start on the left over here.
Thank you, Senator. I absolutely believe that the programs and providers in this country that are providing child care are the right providers to be providing care. This is a market-based system that faith-based programs need to be in and private providers. So I absolutely believe that the market sits where the market should be, and it should continue to sit in that place. At the same time, the financing, the economics of that market are fundamentally broken. They have been for forever. The supply and demand don't match. And I don't see this as the government starting to insert itself in the delivery of services and how programs are run or the experiences that children have, but rather to give parents more choices by providing financing support to a broken economic structure in our system. And I think it's pretty common. You see the federal government step in other industries where that has been the case. And so I don't think it's unusual to ask the federal government to make an investment in an industry that by itself the supply and demand don't meet.
Thank you.
And thank you, Senator. I would agree with that. Basically, states would like to do the right thing. States would like to invest more in child care. They're doing more in preschool, but the money just isn't there. And the federal government needs to partner with them to address the fact that there is a broken market there, that the costs and the prices that parents are paying is high, and yet the wages that early educators are making is low. It is a broken market. And the way to solve that is for the federal government to invest the funds needed so that the states can help run the programs through the local community programs. And so I think, as you know, as Ms. Reynolds said, we all agree there should be really diverse settings, that the funding should go to a child care center in one community and family child care in another and a faith-based program in another. And that's what parental choice is all about, actually putting in the money to build the supply of child care that's available for every family who needs it.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. And no matter whether your children are in a nonprofit organization, for-profit program in the school system, or in a family childcare setting, we all understand the importance of high-quality care and education. So far, that quality cost has been put on the burden of the providers. We cannot longer continue to sustain that. We're getting to the point where we are thinking we need to provide for our families. We can no longer afford to bring milk at the end of the day. And without federal funding, where are we going to put the cost of these? Back on the families? They cannot afford that either. 90% of the children that are served have families that are eligible for subsidies as they stand now. They deserve, and they are benefiting, and we're benefiting from the programs that we're running. But the funding needs to come from everyone. We all benefit from the work that we do. It's just fair that we all pitch in and help a little.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. What I would say is absolutely in agreement. States don't have the funding. They cannot do this without the federal partnership. The flip side of that, I would say, is that we do want to preserve, and I think part of the pushback I've heard is that from the governor's office in Georgia and even in Alabama, because I talked to their regulators too, is that we still need some discretion in how we apply the program. And I would argue the Office of Child Care has traditionally been one more of technical assistance rather than oversight and licensing. So the experts at the actual, like how this is going to implement on the ground are the state licensing agencies. I think the federal role for the federal office is to make sure where states are falling behind, if we want to get to that bachelor's degree requirement. Well, look, Georgia, you've already done it for 4-year-olds, so let's start working on 3-year-olds. But there are states that may not have done it for 4-year-olds, so that's where the federal government comes into play. But states very much want autonomy over eligibility limits. They want a range. It's just like the federal government. Everybody wants some autonomy in the process, and they're going to want some of that flexibility.
Thank you. We're over the time, and just one last statement. Be careful who you choose as a long-term business partner. Currently, every additional dollar we spend here, we borrow it, and 30% of our budget in general is borrowed. Not a good long-term business partner. That's the point I need to make in light of trying to find a solution to an important issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator